Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. I think still people coming, Did you guys have a good time last night? Yeah? A bit hangover, right? And I think for the last few days, you guys bombarded with lots of new idea, new language, new syntax. So I don't know how much you can take it. So mine's a very light touch. Hopefully it still fits in your brain. And as you can see, I changed the title from Solidity to this reality to blockchain programming. The part of the reason is actually in my talk, language itself doesn't really matter because there's a couple of languages to programming this specific blockchain, and it all gets compiled down to something called EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, which is like a bit like JVM. And I noticed that here, there's so many people who's actually interested in building new language itself. And yesterday, there was a talk about programming new language, and one of the top 10 spot, I think he mentioned that you need someone who complains a lot, and that's me. So I'm just morning complaining a lot about the experience of actually using it, because in the blockchain thing, there are a lot of people talking, but not really people doing and actually deploying in the production environment. So you guys might be new in blockchain, but you guys are pro in creating new language. So hopefully I inspire you to get into there. So if you're interested, just Google Ethereum yellow paper, which has 30 pages of all the language specification, and please write the language where I'm happy to use. Okay, with that view, so yeah, even before going to programming language, what the fuck is blockchain, right? And I try to explain in just one diagram that so blockchain equals distributed database that keeps track of value. And how many of you have something like a Bitcoin? Okay, 30%. Yeah, so probably you guys have fragment of information, blockchain is kind of built, is kind of inside Bitcoin that enables digital currency to be more secure and immutable. And at the same token, there's lots of banks are interested just not the Bitcoin bit, cryptocurrency bit, but it's more of the database layer. So they start trying to use it in their enterprise environment. So there's other blockchain technology I think Linux Foundation's Hyperledger, and in one stream, it's called distributed ledger. And the one I'm going to talk about, Ethereum, which sits in somewhere in the middle, that it has functionality of a cryptocurrency, as well as these distributed ledgers you could possibly use in your enterprise environment. So just people talking about, these things, just put that chart in mind. And so Ethereum, what it makes unique within the blockchain ecosystem is there is something so-called smart contract, which is basically the programming language which allows you to control flow of transferring value. And so what kind of the hello world for this Ethereum blockchain smart contract? If you go to ethereum.org, it says make your own cryptocurrency. Very obvious. And so this is a kind of first taste of smart contract language called, it's called Solidity. And it says contract ERC20. It's just a specification of writing a token which asks you to specify a function to provide such a total supply, balance, or ways to transfer value from one person to another. And what's happening crazy, I don't know how many people follow these things, is there's things called ICO, initial coin offering. So they just create a token for their application, and they do crowdfunding, and people throwing money at them. And one of them things, Golem, they actually have a market cap of almost $500 million. That's crazy, well, but this is not really about that, this talk is. Okay, so yes, now you got a blockchain, hopefully. So who am I? So I came from London. I'm originally from Japan. And I work in an insurance company called Simply Business. And we have nothing to do with blockchain, but we kind of experimenting what we could do in insurance world. So to find out, I started organizing a meetup. I'm wondering how many people actually are the organizers of meetup. Are there anyone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5, 5, 6. And assuming that's free? Yeah? Okay, so you probably share the same problem as most people have, is it's called 50% problem. Yeah, like you expect like that much people to come because people register on the meetup or like Eventbrite or but in reality, and then you buy lots of pizza, beer, then you pay for like security to do extra or air condition, whatever. Then it's only half. That's waste in two ways, like waste of preparation costs as well as waste of space, where probably there are some people still waiting in the waiting list who's eager to come to your meetup, but they couldn't because your meetup is full. So when I first find out this smart contract, what do I write to kind of control the money flow? What I came up with is something called BlockParty. And when people write about blockchain solutions, they write like 100 pages of so-called white paper. But mine's very simple, so I just call it Blackboard. That if you say you come, you better bet your deposit. So you put some like digital money, and if you don't come, you lose. But it's deposit, right? If you come, actually we share all the deposit together. So if 10 people says come, and it's only half turned up, you could actually get like double the money. So that's to incentivize in the two way that you only register when you mean it, and also once you register, you better come. So that's what I did, and let's quickly show the video to show how it looks like. Okay. So there are 2 pages. One is for the admin panel, and another is for normal user panel. And then in admin, what I'm doing, like I put Twitter address, and I'm registering to the event by paying the deposit. And this admin one is actually connecting. So blockchain, everybody has a kind of copy of the same database on your laptop. So this one underneath, it's connecting directly to the blockchain, and it's kind of registering. And once it's registered, now I go to the other page, and as a normal user, you don't expect people to actually download the entire blockchain in your laptop. So common approach right now is you use something called MetaMask, which is a Chrome extension, which remotely connects to the blockchain somewhere, which might defeat the purpose of decentralization. But because when you send a transaction, you have like public-private key, and then you sign the transaction. So even though the database itself is in remote, still you can guarantee that like these remote server can't change what you did. And then once the people registered, owner currently just manually says, oh, you attended, mark it. And after that, when it finishes, it says payback. So that now the guy actually withdraw, and the MetaMask again asks, are you sure you run this function? And then when you submit, you get the money back. So in this case, deposit was 0.05 Ether, and he's got 0.075, so he got 0.025 Ether back. That's roughly how it works. Actually, like I created this during the hackathon of my company in just 2 days. And let's get back. How do I do that preview? What was the shortcut to play? Command Enter. No. Bottom of the view menu. Slideshow. Enter full screen. Yes. Good. So it's already 10 minutes on, and then finally I'm saying what I'm going to talk today. So firstly, I'll present how to learn programming blockchain but like you guys already hangover, so we only show like 3 basic steps. That's easy, but then like whole things come afterward. So I'll talk about 2 aspects of what you really have to think through. So if you as a language creator, please come up with a new syntax which allows me to do these things a lot easier. Okay, so first, learn blockchain programming in 3 steps. So as I mentioned, so this smart contract language is called Solidity. And if you look at it, it says contract conference. You can almost replace a contract as a class. So like it has like basic thing like type system, and then you can have attributes of the variables and the stuff. But first important step is, so if you have a function name, same thing as a contract name, it's an initializer. So it gets executed when you actually deploy these contract into the blockchain. And because you use like, signing of public private keys, so when you deploy it, contract knows who sent that transaction. And in this case, I'm setting as a owner of this contract. Once it's done, when users register, user also can set these send deposit, the digital currency. Then this message.value knows how much is being sent, and in this case, I'm checking with actual deposit money amount, and if it's not the same, I send raise exception. And there's step 3. It's not just user can send money to the smart contract also can send the money back to the user. That's it. Congratulations. Now you know how to write smart contract. That's easy, right? You got it? Yeah. But that's like not even half of the story. So because it's a kind of concept new that your program directly holds the money, that means every bug leads into kind of, people could steal the money. So it's basically the bounty. And I don't know if some of you guys have heard of things called the DAO. Anyone? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has anyone bought DAO? Okay, good. Good that you guys didn't, because that's the first time I actually bought Ethereum currency just to buy their something called token for initial coin offering. And so DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and they basically created a venture capital as a smart contract to raise money and distribute it accordingly. But obviously, every code has a bug. So it got hacked, and at a certain point, it has almost like 150 million raised. But the bug, due to the bug, about 30% of the money is got stolen. And so like I spent about £100, bought all these things, and I lost it for about 3 months. There's a whole story follows, but that's for probably you just Google it, and you'll find out. It's very interesting. But then it kind of changed the atmosphere of this programming world that like it's not, initially you try to approach it as a lot easier, but suddenly it becomes like almost like rocket science, like you have to program like hardware or financial services. Okay, then I'll look back my code. Luckily, I organized coding meetup, code up. So I asked my participants like, hey, what do you think about my code? And it's not good at all. Like, and like when you write the fast programming language, code or whatever the new language, you're doing wrong all the time, right? So what did I do wrong? So first thing, so the flow is people register, and the organizer says, yeah, you attended. Then when the event finishes, I organize put payback. And in this one, as I mentioned, the contract, once organizer say payback, that smart contract pays a deposit back to the participants. And in this code, it's going through for the loop and trying to send the money all the back to the users. But the problem is, you don't know that that's exactly the person who's sending is user or actually another smart contract. And in this smart contract, there's a function with no name that becomes fallback function, just like kind of like method missing in Ruby. And the interesting thing is this gets called if someone tried to send the money as well. Then in this case, I'm trying to raise exception, or you're trying to re-enter to the same function. That's to recursively take money or something. That's called re-entry pattern. So the kind of workaround pattern which emerged after this DAO hack is, rather than contract try to send to everybody, you just mark on a payback, you just mark people as, okay, you attended, you can withdraw. And then I create a new function called withdraw, so that each user have to call that just to withdraw their own bit. So like if they try to do recursive thing or throw, it only like inconvenient that particular user or contract, not the entire user. So that's one of the pattern. Okay, That's good. I learned something. So it's party time. But problem is, my meetup is very small. Like it's no more than 5 people really registered. So I didn't have a need. And also, you had to deposit with something called Ether, which is a digital currency of the Ethereum, and not many people had it. So I had to do somewhere. Like I had to go somewhere people have it. Then obvious place was in Shanghai. So last September, I went all the way to Shanghai to attend their DevCon conference. And just a day before the DevCon conference, I booked a restaurant in China for 10 people, and they say, hey, come along. And I used BlockParty, and the result is 100%. Like people from like India, Argentina, Sweden, they all came in. Interesting thing is, that conference, other people were also experimenting on smart contract, and there's one company which had a flight delay insurance. The smart contract knows like a flight gets delayed, and it automatically gives the insurance. So there's one guy who actually bought that as a kind of safety net. Like if his flight got delayed, he at least mitigate his risk of losing Ether on this BlockParty. That was interesting. And I did it again last February in Paris. And this time, unfortunately, it's only 70%. And the second guy called Simon, actually went to different meetup. If you're the meetup organizer, that sucks. But in this case, I was happy because I got 0.4 Ether. At that time, it was like only 4 or 5 pounds, but like still I got something. Great. So performance tuning for fun and profit. I think next talk is performance tuning as well. So as I mentioned, a blockchain is a distributed database that keeps track of value. So every activity is actually logged in the blockchain. And there's lots of websites which kind of let you search all these so-called transactions. And this is the most popular one called EtherScan. So one thing I didn't tell you is that when you actually use this distributed database, you actually have to pay a transaction fee called gas. And the gas goes to the miner who's basically maintaining this huge ecosystem the database is. And we call it gas. And I look into all the gas costs I spend for each transaction. At that time, it was a 0.14 Ether, which was about £1.50, which is okay, Yeah, it's cheaper than coffee, so it's okay. But by the way, so Ether is a unit of digital currency in Ethereum, which is like $1. So it has something equivalent like a pence or cent. So the smallest unit is Wei. Okay. And so just last month, I only used this in production, real money twice. So and my talk got accepted. So maybe I should do it again just to gain more knowledge. And at that time, so first 2 times the Ether price was $13, $10. Then it got crazy, like $400, right there. Crazy, crazy. Suddenly people start asking me, like, hey, should I buy Ether or not? I don't know. But the greed brings lots of attention to my study group. Now I start getting more people. Nice. So in May, it was the first time, actually, there's someone who couldn't come to my meetup because it was so popular. And June, again, like there's 6, 7 people in the waiting list. So I thought, this is the time, isn't it? Unleash it, right? So, but there's an issue because I did a bit of calculation just to check how much it's going to cost. And if I combine to the current value of the Ether, it's like £70. I can't afford for like throwing £70 just to experiment, right? So I had to be clever. And let's dive in how this Ethereum charging works. So I mentioned that there's something called gas you have to pay, and there's something called gas limit, which users can set, like and which it cannot exceed a gas multiple by gas price. And I'll try to explain what that means. Is that so? This MetaMask thing which popped up when I was showing the demo. So it asks you how much you are willing to pay to the miners when you call this function, and I put certain amount. And also, I put the gas price. In this case, it said 20 G Wei. And so the total cost is gas times gas price. So in this case, the actual cost depends on the data size you input. So you don't know exactly how much. But I say like, yeah, this is the maximum I'm willing to pay. And in this case, it's $5. But you can change this gas price. So if you change it to 2GA, it becomes like, like lot cheaper. So now it's only like 50 cents. That's reasonable, right? And just I need to figure out the whole flow of like all the transaction, how much is actually cost to just get a feeling. And so I can write a JavaScript. So one thing is, when I write the whole BlockParty system, I look at a GitHub repo, and it's actually 96% of the JavaScript, which is interacting with a smart contract. And when you even write a test, you can interact with smart contract using a library called Web3. And in this case, in the conference, owner said attend, and which returns something called transaction hash. And based on that hash, I can again ask to this Web3 JavaScript wrapper to give me a bit more information, which gives you that gas used and gas price, which gives you the actual amount. And also, if I test against production system, it actually costs money, so it defeats the purpose. But there's one called test RPC, which runs in memory. So when I run it, 71 with 100 GWay, it's 70 pounds. But in an Ether scan, you can actually say how much usually the gas price people are paying, and it says 20 GWay. And the trade-off is like if you spend more money on the gas price, it gets confirmed into blockchain faster. And if you spend less, it's slower. So I changed it to 20 GWay, and then now it's like 14 pounds. That's better. But I think I can do even better. And there's another one called it's a gas station, which gives you the more real-time information of exactly like with this gas price for this gas, how long it takes to get mined. And when I checked the site, it says with 2 GWay, it's like 200 seconds. So like 2-3 minutes, not bad. So I decided to deploy with that 2 GWay, and it's now £1.42. So it's kind of affordable price. Then I actually deployed, but that wasn't that accurate. So it actually took us 300 blocks, which was almost like 75 minutes. And now I'm ready. So I announced the event. And on 22nd June, like I said, like the DAO is hacked. But by that time, kind of forgotten. So people forgot all the, limitation like a scary bit. So people doing more and more ICO to the point like in blockchain world, there are more people raising money by crowd sale than VC. And there's one big one came as something called Status IM, which is a mobile wallet browser. Like instead of doing like from browser like a MetaMask, you can do from mobile. So that like this could massively increase the adoption of the blockchain. So people really go nuts. So like there's all these things doing the ICO. BAT, someone might be familiar. Like Brendan Eich, the author of JavaScript, made a browser called Brave. And they are trying to use something called basic attention token, which could be used for the payment of the for watching ads and stuff. It was this much, and the status got that much. I have only 6 minutes left, I think. Is it? How many minutes? Okay, 6. Okay. And so the side effect is because when people are throwing so many things, the gas price got up. And so when I announced, I told people like, hey, just use 2 GWay. But this is the first time in Ethereum kind of history that the network itself is so database got congested to the point like people, it took almost a day for that to get into the database. So we had a situation that there's 2 people who actually turned up, but they arrived faster than the right into transaction. And unfortunately for them, but fortunately for me, there's another guy who went to another meetup, so I got extra 0.01 Ether. So that's kind of real kind of current state of running the app in blockchain. And so future of BlockParty is that in April I gave a talk. At that time I had to speak in this I think I had 145 slides and I had to speak in 25 minutes. So I spoke like twice faster. But they liked it, so they said, yeah, we should use BlockParty in our event, London Ethereum meetup. It's actually the biggest meetup the Ethereum meetup in the world. And they have over 3,000 users, and every time they have like over 200 participants. But I've never used this for more than 10 people. Does it really scale? 5 minutes, okay. So now I'll check with the, I run the script again using test.rpc, and I noticed that this register attendant payback gas used is quite high, 4.5 million. What does that mean? I earlier said like, in a MetaMask, each user can declare how much they're willing to spend on the gas. But at the same time, blockchain had each block, and each block has multiple transactions, and some of the transactions cannot exceed the size of the gas limit, which is currently about 4 million. So I'm getting to the point like my transaction gets too big that it doesn't fit into the blockchain. That's a problem. And then I got another tweet said, like, hey, you should do for my conference, 2,000 people. Oh my God, they're crazy. Like, this is the first app I wrote, and you're trying to have so many things at stake. So I ran the test, and it says out of gas. It's not scalable. Luckily, there's an easy solution. That probably if you see someone doing the loop, you kind of intuitively know that that's not really, scalable. So I changed the logic not to use for loop, and boom, 4 million became 60,000. Now I don't have the problem with the block size, and also I got £3 saving. Nice. Okay, so interested in Ethereum? But like, it's so expensive, isn't it? But again, the rule is if you want to deploy and user this smart contract, you have to buy this digital currency. But there's a good news, because price crashed. So after that status ICO is the first time you kind of start seeing the limitation of this network. And there's a whole way to mitigate that, but market react sensitively. So now it's like not bad to buy Ether. And but I think there's a couple people. Does anyone have Ether? Who bought it before like the crazy increase? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got maybe like 30 times like profit, right? So you can afford to go to DevCon 3 in Cancun in November. And I think until tomorrow, there's a discount. So you should go. Or most of you didn't buy it. Never mind. There's a good community in France called Access. Yeah. They have like something, organized. They're a very friendly bunch. I actually went there yesterday, and I did rehearse this talk. Nice people, so you can go there. Or, so there is someone who bought like if you just actually have money and you don't mind, crossing the pond. As I mentioned, I work in an insurance company, and I saw like I tried to do something in my workspace, which probably everybody tried to do, and inject my new toy language into my workspace. So I pitched to my company like, hey, we should do the hackathon. And they luckily said they put like 10K in the pot. So if you are very, very keen, there's still some spots left in the hackathon space. So, come and hack with us. That's it. Thank you. I have 1 minute of Q&A, or can I do like one more thing? Can I? Good. So as I said, everything is a bounty, but like actually you don't want to put 150 million pounds as a stake. So you can actually write, I'm not sure. So you can actually write a smart contract or bounty as a smart contract to basically make the, because contract is just a class, you can create a new instance of the class, and you can put the logic which you think it's never be false as an invariant. So you can put the logic to say, if someone did something into this copy of the smart contract and break it, I'll give you the certain amount, which is a lot lower than actual amount at stake. So this way, you can encourage people to attack this smallest, scale contract before main things in the production. And I actually did it. And that one that I deployed in last September, I put 1 Ether. At that time, like it was nothing, so no one cared. But it's still there, and it's about $248. So if you're interested, dig in and try to steal. Okay, thank you.